Hello again, everybody. This is Old Buck Dave of the Two Old Bucks, back with episode 194 of the Two Old Bucks, and with me is none other than
Old Buck Dale.
Old Buck Dale. Good to
Yeah.
see you again. Yeah. So, and we're going to have a special guest today. We'll bring him on in a few minutes. That would be Captain Jim. He's got another. I don't know if I call this one a sea story, but there was some water involved in it. But it's a good story, nevertheless. So we're looking forward to
story. It's
it.
a story.
It is one of many that Captain Jim has. Yeah, I love them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm got back last night. Our big trip north. I came in at 3,522 miles. Came back unscathed. Although yesterday was a long 10 hours on the road day. One 45-minute slowdown and one 15-minute slowdown for pretty bad accidents. And then we had some rainstorm coming in, but we made it. So all is good.
Well, I do a trip like that. I have to stop to let the blood go back to my legs. That's quite an adventure. You saw a lot of people. I kind of went along with you very carelessly there. Folks I knew too that you met again while they were still alive.
Had the old high school reunion we talked about, a family reunion. Got to see my cousins, some friends from Pittsburgh, some friends from Westmoreland County, back in the old country. Yeah, it was great. It was great. Had a good time. And of course, then we saw a couple high school buddies in Georgia on the way back. So that was kind of the icing on the cake, cherry on top. Oh, we got a number of queries on one topic last week, and that is what happened to the skunk. If you recall, I told my brother-in-law's story about his friend who caught a skunk and then couldn't figure out how to get rid of it. And the game commissioner said, well, put it in your pickup truck. And he said, I don't have a pickup truck. He said, well, just get your gun and shoot it. I don't have a gun. He says, well, you don't have a pickup truck. You don't have a gun. What kind of man are you? And that's kind of where the story ended. And
yeah, because we bust out laughing at that point.
What happened to the skunk? Well, I've researched it and found out the game warden came and he picked up the trunk. He picked up the skunk in his pickup truck. So all is well, except maybe for the skunk. We're not sure about him. So that's my story. And
aren't they supposed to do that, Dave? I mean, isn't that part of their portfolio if they need to go and grab one?
Well, I guess he did it. I guess he was looking for other alternatives beside coming out. But yeah.
So it ends with the skunk being carefully taken away by the game warden, and we assume he was released.
He was released to the wild. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he didn't.
I'm sure. So what's going on with you? How'd your AC installation go? We talked about that a week or two
ago. I was proud to proclaim that I was able to accomplish some dental work and an AC installation in the same day, and both of them worked.
Wow!
But I did have something.
Was it the same? Was it the same person that did both of them, or?
No, but they both charged an equal amount of money. That was an expensive day. It was.
Well, hey, before you go on, I know you have a couple questions here. Let's let everybody know that Captain Jim will be with us here. In fact, he is with us here. So how you doing, Jim?
Doing pretty good. Just listening in with interest about the skunk.
Yeah. For any of our new listeners, we get Captain Jim back from time to time with his sea stories. Some of them don't involve the sea, but he's had a very interesting life. He ran his own company for a number of years. Recently retired. Sailed around the world twice. A lot of adventures along the way. And a little bit later today, he's going to talk about taxis in Belize. But first, we have to get Del sorted out with his AC. So talk to us.
I appreciate your thoughts on this too, Jim, while you're listening to us. The AC was that they replaced the old one with is bigger. The air handlers are bigger in size, and so is the compressor. My question is, once I got it involved or got it all together and it works, and in fact, it's running as we speak, because it feels like 112 outside, right, guys?
Oh my God.
112. But here's my question. The wife looks over at me on the following day and says, "I'm hot." And I said,
Yeah.
"Well, I don't know what to tell you, but the temperature says it's 76. Should I turn it down to 73 or something?" And of course, that does get pretty cool for me, and it runs a lot more. But 76, I think, is tolerable. But here's my question to any listeners and you folks: is I suspected that the thermostat itself is programmed with a delay, because my old thermostat, I could really just walk by it and disturb the wind, and it would kick
Mhm.
on. And we both agreed that it seemed to run more often. So
Mhm.
is it possible that when they install these things, that they set like a 2-minute delay when it's ready to kick on? Like if you have it set for a certain temperature, as it gets warmer and warmer and warmer, just before it turns 1 full degree, there's a delay, and then it kicks on. Because just as we said that, she said, "I'm hot." And I said, "Well, I don't know what to do." The thing kicked on. So is that possible? Is that something that they do, or is that the way they
Maybe
work?
it's got a microphone in it that heard her say that. I'm
Well, they've
thinking
been
that's
running
what
all
it
the
is.
time. That "I'm hot" comes up a lot in my
It's an AI
house.
thermostat. Yeah.
Do you think that's possible,
I
Dan?
don't. I don't know. I don't know. I'm guessing that's
What do you
there's a
think, Jim? You know some stuff about stuff like that.
Well, I'm only familiar with the thermostats that you go by and you either punch them up or down, and you can hear it click, and it generally comes on. I mean, my air conditioners, and they're like 3 or 4 years old. Um, so I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what purpose it would serve.
Oh, okay, so we have no resolution to that between the three of us. But when the wife says when the wife says "I'm hot," what do you do?
I get
When
up and turn down the air conditioner.
turn
exactly.
it down.
That's the only that's the only option you have.
That's
Oh,
it.
Absolutely.
so the logic, the old bucks say the logic for you folks listening is you turn it down and make it cold enough that it can never get
Hmm.
hot where you would say "I'm hot." So all right,
There you
That's
go.
right.
I'll
There
let
you
you
go.
know how that works out for me.
Hey, one suggestion: get a thermometer and hang it next to the thermostat and see what the thermometer says versus the thermostat.
I do have a thermometer.
Okay. Okay.
I do have a thermometer. It's an old Planters peanut thermometer, and sometimes I refer to that to see if you start denying the
Hmm.
thermostats. It can't be. It's too
Exactly.
hot in here. It's not. But
Can't
it
be
says
right.
70. 76, 75.
Ah,
That is going to be the big dilemma. I thought maybe it would be. I thought it would be when first I thought it was going to be when there was too much water. Then I said, well, it'll probably be when it's too hot for airplanes to fly. And I'm thinking, now the third leg of this is when the wife says, "I'm hot."
that's the important one. Yeah.
And then all the politicians around the world will have to respond.
Uh,
Anyhow,
uh,
that's my story. Otherwise, I've been fine, just hanging out with the old folks, playing a little bingo, carrying on.
shooting some pool, I hear.
I am shooting pool, and I, that's something I was going to ask you. I found that these men, even with, I wouldn't say an advanced age, but much older than me, and some of them with small tremors and uh, mobility issues. Once they got that pool stick in their hand, they played pretty well. And it
Wow.
made me think that if you have a hobby or something that you really, you can still do, and pool is one of them, if you can stand up and move around the table, although they have to use the table to balance themselves. I said, I'll be darned. What a blessing it was for these guys who must have played quite a bit when they were young, that they can still do it. They can still play.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I beat them mostly.
Mostly.
Yeah,
Mostly.
mostly. But
About the
still,
women.
well, I think what would happen if you couldn't ride when you wanted to ride? What do you do next? Build model planes or something? What do you do?
I don't know. Make a podcast. That's something,
Podcast.
something that keeps you in the house.
That was never anything we did very well when we were young,
Yeah.
was it? It
Well.
wasn't.
Oh
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyhow, I thought that was interesting. But I've been playing pool, and it keeps me out of the pool room is in a air conditioned building.
Okay.
So keeps me out of the heat.
All right.
That's it for me.
Hey, one more thing before
Mm.
we move over to Captain Jim.
Mhm.
I got us on the West Newton High School Facebook page. So we're now still not famous, but
Yeah, for
we're on the
the
yeah, and a
8 people that are
number.
still alive on that.
I posted an episode from 2 weeks ago, and a number of people downloaded. So that's a good thing. So thanks to them. I hope we get some subscribers out of that. And
Well, if we're listening to folks from the old country there, we want to wish them all the best. It was good to see some photos of them, and it's always a sad day when you lose a classmate, and we know that perhaps is inevitable, but it's good to see them while they're here.
yeah, it's a
Talk to
happy
them,
day
call
when
them
you see
while
your
they're
classmates. Yeah.
call them while you can. That's my advice.
Okay. Well, my advice is let's start talking to Captain Jim here.
I agree.
And so, Jim, tell us about taxis in Belize.
This happened back in 1975. I had a freighter with a guy. We bought a mothballed freighter or a boat from the Navy and converted it into a freighter.
I'm saying so you bought a freighter. You were probably in your 20s yet.
Yeah, about 27.
Okay. I bought a bicycle. You bought a freighter. Okay.
So I'll start the story. Red and I we were in Coxon Hole in Roytan, Honduras. That's the Bay Islands. And we parted ways when I told him, I said, "You're lying. You intended to sell the boat all along." And he got pissed. Excuse my language, but I used some choice words there. So he stormed off the boat and he was really mad, or was he? And you'd never know that. He was so crafty and cunning. And the island boys paddled him ashore in the middle of the night. Red's 300-pound weight caused a dugout wooden canoe to ride low in the water.
Huh.
And he would fidget every now and then, and it looked like it's going to roll over.
Huh.
But if anybody ever tells you, I ain't got nothing but a third grade education, watch him. You may be a target of their scheming. And Red was a good old country boy from Georgia. And he and I always conducted business with a handshake. And your word was your bond, and we'd split the outcome, whatever it was, win, lose. So we sold the ship in Honduras, received cash and a joint check, and came back. That was to be split back in Tampa. We hadn't figured out our cost yet. So I had more than enough money to finish building the boat and sail around the world. I mean, I had about 30 grand then. And, but, building a boat by yourself, it was 38 feet long and 25 feet wide. And it just gets monotonous sometimes. So I miss that excitement of being with it. And I got in the car and went down to the the old banana docks in Tampa. And that's where his office was in a warehouse. There was a building built inside, a big, large warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked in. I said, "What you up to, Red?" And he said, "Jim, I'm going to buy some cars at the state auction, fix them up, and sell them in Belize for taxes." Looking up from the document, he asked, "You interested?"
Oh, just like that.
Said, "Sounds like fun. I'm in." And just like that, we were partners again. So he declared, "I'm going to bid on all of them and we'll see what we get." And this was a sealed bid auction requiring a 5% non-refundable deposit, cashier's check. And it wasn't open air. You had to fill in the paperwork and mail it into them. So the advertisement listed each car's details, its history, and mileage. So this is right after about 2 years after the oil embargo, and the Department of Transportation had these gas guzzling Fords and Chevrolets that had big 350 engines in them. They were four-door cars, but they were in good shape, and a lot of them were most of them were less than 40 miles. Some were even less than that, but they dumped them. So they're in good condition. So Red said, we'll take them down to Julius and let them run them through the beauty parlor. And Julius owned an auto body shop in Tampa, and Red took all his vehicles to him for a beauty treatment. And they'd polish them up and put, the little paint spots and stuff like that.
This is where you put lipstick on a pig? Is that what they did?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That was a thing. So we loaded them onto Red had 2 freighters in, and we loaded the cars and 2 trucks onto Red's freighters and shipped them to Belize City. And so I rode the ship down to Central America and helped unload them. So when you get there, you have to pay a customs duty, and it's 50% of the value of the car.
Okay.
Until you pay it, they store it in a compound, in a fenced-in compound. So Red hooked me up with Lester. He's the son of a shipping agent in the city. He's a friend of Red's. A nice guy, same age as me, about 27. And he'd be my advisor while I was there. And we didn't have enough money to get all the cars out of storage or any place to put them, for that matter. So we planned to get the best one out, sell it, and pull out a few more. And we charged the buyer $4,500 for this car. Now we had about $650 in them,
Mm-hmm.
and to liberate more cars. But there was a minor problem, and it was this guy Smitty, the customs agent. He had a current copy of the Kelly's Blue Book, which gave a valuation on almost every vehicle produced according to their age, condition, and mileage. And like I said, the customs duty was 50%. So I said to Lester, we only have $600 in each vehicle. What's our plan?
So he's expecting you to pay on Blue Book.
Yeah.
On 50% of Blue Book. And of course,
right. US prices.
Yeah.
So, we got these at a bargain. They had 300 vehicles that they sold all at once. And we just bid one number, $283 on every car in the auction.
Uh-huh.
So we ended up with, I think, 12 cars and 2 trucks. So Lester came back. He said he doesn't believe that he paid such a low price. He wants proof of bill of sale. I said, okay, I got an idea. Let's go over to your father's office and we'll ask the secretaries to type up a bill of sale. And I said, I have the titles, serial numbers, no value is listed, and the owner's name is blank. So I concocted an official looking bill of sale, and I knew what they looked like, stating the vehicle was sold to me, signed by a fictitious state official, and was witnessed and sealed. And I used my personal notary public seal to emboss the paper in lieu of the state of Florida seal.
Your personal
notary public, the old metal ones.
Oh yeah,
the old that you'd squeeze and it would crinkle the paper. So it had, and so Smitty scanned the records and ran his finger over the impregnated circle without ever reading it. It said Donald J. Logan, notary public.
Okay.
So one car liberated, 13 to go. So Lester, I'm following his lead, and he recommends you renting a hotel at Danny Ware's place next to the old swing bridge crossing the Belize River. So this bridge, they'd go out there and they'd put a tool, like a big pry bar with a shaped in on it, and they would walk round and round and round, and that turned the gears, and the bridge would slowly open to allow traffic to come by. And the Belize River is the main water artery for the country. So, and the bridge carried the main road, the main traffic in town. So Danny had larceny in his heart, and for a little cut, he's more than willing to allow us to smuggle in a couple of boats and time to his dock. So at midnight, Lester and I rode out to the anchored freighter, put the boats in the water and ran them up to Danny's dock, and we avoided paying duties and sold them to fishermen. Now, Belize is a British colony and had been given international self-governance in 1964, which was just a few years before. In 1973, the name was changed from British Unders to Belize. And in 1975, when I was there, the population of the city was 23,000 people. It took less than an hour to walk across town.
Huh.
And Great Britain granted independence in 1981. So it was a country in its infancy. Constructed primarily out of wood, it had the appearance of a Hollywood lot set from a spaghetti western, backlot set from a spaghetti
Okay.
western.
Uh-huh.
Okay, they looked just like that. It was totally disorganized, underfunded, and clueless on how to run a government. Foreign domestic scoundrels circulated among the tourists. Somerset Maugham once remarked, the best way to see Belize is from the fantail of a departing steamship. Okay, so I'm going to take that out of my story. I don't want to offend any Belizeans. But for Red Me, it was perfect. So when you ran into a problem, you went around it or paid a little bit of money, and it disappeared. This is called a mordida, or the bite. So it was customary when you bring a freighter in, right, and you cleared all the port officials, they brought a briefcase, and in it they had one piece of paper, and they'd shuffle around and smoke. And in Belize, you gave them a carton of marbles and a big can of Hawaiian Punch. In Honduras, you gave them 2 cans of Hawaiian Punch and 2 cartons of marbles. So whenever you handed somebody official paperwork, it always had something folded into it. This was, you wouldn't get anything done unless you were ready to do that. Now, I never did that when I was up here doing my work. That was the way that they ran their country, and I wasn't there to correct them. I was there to sell taxis. So the age of Aquarius was over. The 60s were over, and a lot of hippies and drifters passed through Central America seeking an extension of the good times. Belize's official language is English, making it an easy transition to join expat status. So travelers congregated at Mom's Hamburger Grill, a few steps from the swing bridge in Danny's hotel. I had breakfast there most mornings, and often a rat from the river ran across the floor under the tables. Regulars would stamp their feet, clap their hands, and throw plastic pancake syrup bottles at it, laughing, screaming, shouting. And, so I drew the cars out of the compound as needed. They were safe inside. And Danny allowed me to have 2 cars to be parked in his parking area, and I paid rent on another. And when there weren't customers, I toured the countryside. It was all new to me, and visited cities like Orange Walk and Belmopan, and Mayan ruins, and thick jungles and beaches. And random people, I'd invite to come along, and we'd talk, explore, chat, smoke cigarettes. So customers sought me out, and my prices were competitive with cars available inside the country. And taxi owners and drivers could make a living wage and support their family with the car. So they looked at my cars parked in front of the hotels and at customs compound. And if they wanted to test drive an impounded car, Smitty had let me take it out to demonstrate it for a fee, like $5 or $10. These generally involve the customer stomping the gas pedal in first gear until the engine screamed, and then slamming on the brakes multiple times. The buyer and his friends would come over the car looking for flaws. But these were good cars.
They were good cars. As you said, they were low mileage, sturdy cars.
Yeah. So about 2 weeks into my stay, a rumor circulated around town. There was a young man named Andy from Alabama who wanted to buy a ton of Jamaican pot, and he needed a crew member. And Andy asked around, and people familiar with me and having the freighter said, go talk to Jim, see what he says. So we met at Mom's Grill for a beer and a burger. It seems like his backers back in Alabama had talked him into sailing a 35-foot trimaran to Jamaica, load up weed, and smuggle it back. Okay.
And he was trying to see how you could help him.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
This is what happened.
Okay.
There were several problems. For the first thing, Andy didn't know how to sail or navigate.
Just a minor problem.
So on the way to Jamaica, they're coming down, with 1 foot on shore and 1 foot in the water. And it's like you're on the Appalachian Parkway, right? You can look at other mountains with your map and make sense of it. but you get into fog, and that's what it's like being at sea. There's nothing to see at sea. You get lost. So one day they would set course and head east, and then they would, they didn't see anything, they'd turn around and head west.
Oh,
And they did
geez.
that until they ran out of food and water. And by
Wow.
sheer luck, he spotted a lighthouse. And the old saying, by hook or by crook, they dropped anchor in Belize Harbor, and his crew member deserted him.
This is going
So,
from bad to worse for
yeah. So
for
I
Andy.
sternly, so I sternly advise Andy, shut the blank up about what you want to do. I'll make a list of things to do, and if you're following, you might live. Rule 1, stop talking. It'll tip off the feds and you're going to be toast. Rule 2, sail in one direction. Enter hourly compass headings and estimated miles covered on your chart. I explained to him that by sailing east, he'd hit land in a few days, hopefully Jamaica, because he could hit Cuba if he was off. So he didn't say a word. He just stared at me like his savior. We outfitted his boat, and I taught him rudimentary navigation, and his buddies wired thousands of dollars for the refit and supplies. Now, no one was crazy enough to sail with him except for this 20-something guy named Pizza. He was a stoner who lived on the street with street people in dirty alleyways. He made pizzas during the day, that's how he got his name, in an old oven, and sold slices to locals and tourists. Other than dealing in dope, it was his only income. Andy was deficient for a crew member, and if Pizza was the only one, then so be it. Now, Pizza moved on the boat and started helping him out, and after 2 weeks of preparation, they slipped out of harbor unnoticed. Now, I'd been down there for 6 weeks, and I only had an ugly Buick station wagon to be sold. So I said, hey, Lester, I got to get home. Please sell the last car, and we'll split the profits. No problem, yeah. So I booked my flight to Tampa and was drinking in the airport bar waiting for the inbound plane to land. And after it landed, the stairs were maneuvered up to the aircraft door, and the first passengers to disembark were Pizza and Andy, dressed like rock stars with sparkling platform shoes. This was 75, and matching outfits. Think about Elvis's flashy attire in Las Vegas. As we passed each other, as they deplaned and I boarded, I yelled at them, "I'll be damned, you made it." The end.
Oh, that's funny. So you help these guys out by teaching them some rudimentary sailing to keep them alive, and you told
Yeah.
them to keep their mouths shut. So they didn't totally follow the second piece of advice, apparently.
Well, when they came in and they looked like rock stars, I mean, in my story, I've got a picture of Elvis in his outfits or Elvis outfits,
Yeah.
and they platform shoes, just everything, where Pizza had been like dirty before, and living on the streets. Now he's, dolled up. So
That's great.
I've got 100 red stories, and this is just one of them.
Hey,
and yeah.
Hey, Jim, I got a question for you. What did your parents say about? I mean, I'm assuming they were still alive then, and what did they say about these adventures? I mean, what were you thinking? You said, "Well, I think I'm going to do this." I mean, I'm thinking where I was at 27, and I wasn't even. I mean, I wasn't doing anything too risky at that point.
Yeah, my father passed away in Costa Rica in '68.
Oh.
And my mother was, if she could have run off to sea, she would have. She was, she loved the stories. She liked the adventure. It wasn't dangerous, and if you were stupid, it could be very dangerous. But
Yeah.
and I knew how to sail. I knew how to navigate, and I knew how to repair things. I'd been almost a professional sailor for a sailboat race, and people would pay for me to go and race on their boats. So, and they wanted me to smuggle dope with them, and I never would. And slowly but surely, one by one, they all got caught.
They all got caught.
They all got caught, and they would turn state's evidence on somebody, and as soon as that guy was put away, they'd just cross out that name and put his name on that. And
There's
so
the
that
reason, excuse me, Jim, the reason I was asking is that, I said, what possessed him? What gave him the confidence to go off on some of these adventures? But you had confidence in yourself, and you did have the skills to survive it. So it wasn't as risky as it sounds to me at this point. And you obviously didn't do anything foolish. So
yeah,
but
we
that's some interesting stuff and interesting choices when when you were young.
well, I had we owned that freighter, and I took the freighter from the Schuylkill River and refurbished it and brought it down the outside of the coast and along the Atlantic, and saw Diamond Shoals Lighthouse at Cape Hatteras at night, and had a one-armed tugboat captain begging me not to take that boat offshore in Marcus Hook, New Jersey. So we brought that to Key West and converted it into a freighter, and I rode it down there, and I was on it for a pretty good while. And I've got tales to tell about that. I mean, it just.
And we'll be here. We'll be here to hear them. We'll be here to hear them, Jim. That's fascinating. I mean,
It is really
guy in his
fascinating.
20s. I'm going to get a freighter. I would get some cars, take them down.
What it was, 600 tons in 6 feet of water. In Belize City at that time had no concrete, bag concrete that was produced in Guatemala. So the boat that came up was called the Irma, and she drew 11 feet. So they'd have to unload her twice, and this boat would go up to dock at high tide. So that's where I saw the value. You got a quarter a bag. So, but Red, his whole intention was to sell the boat, was never to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Red was, he was one of these guys that he would out and out cheat you. That wasn't his style. He'd let you take advantage of yourself.
I like that.
If you tried to cheat him, he'd turn it around on you.
Uh-huh.
And people were, questioning me about being with Red. They said, he's dishonest. I said, I never bought anything from Red, and that's why we never had a problem. And the boat was in my name because we didn't have insurance, right? And I didn't have anything. I didn't have anything to lose. I had a Triumph TR4 is the only thing that I own. And,
hey, Dave, I'm kind of liking this idea. Maybe we can do something like that again. I mean, that sounds like
I'll tell you what,
adventure I might have joined in with at the
time. You and Jim can get together after this episode and work something out. I'll watch.
Absolutely fascinating.
Oh, that's a great story, Jim. Thank you.
Okay. It's my pleasure to tell it. Let me say one thing.
Sure.
I dearly love my wife. We get along extremely well, and she's heard these stories ad nauseum. So I'm glad I get a chance to tell them.
You get a chance to tell them to somebody else. She doesn't have to listen. I've seen that. I've seen that going on too, so I can verify. Yeah, she kind of her eyes glaze over.
Right. So they were interesting the first time. The second time, let's give it a rest.
Well, for someone who's never heard it before, like myself, I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute, maybe that sounds like I want to join hands with that. That sounds like something.
It was.
I don't know about you, Dave, but I was holding on to the edge of the table there for a little bit. Anyhow, what a story.
What a story. Yes. Thank you, Jim. And I hope all our listeners enjoyed this as much as we did. So this is Old Buck Dave. Say take care, everybody. Talk to you next week.
And Old Buck Dale following behind, saying all you listeners out there, any comments, any thoughts, please send us a note. There's lots of ways to connect to us. Thanks for listening. Old Buck Dale saying talk to you next time.
Okay, this is Captain Jim saying over and out.
Over and out. Bye-bye.